All right, everyone. We are going to go ahead and get started with our event today. Thank you, everyone, again for making the time to come out and to, hold on just a second, and to hear from everyone that's going to be in this great presentation. So I wanted to start off with just a few kind of housekeeping items. So again, my name is Rudyard Hopkins. I have been part of the Product Hive organization for the last 5 years. And they've seen this, it's been a privilege for me to be associated and see it grow. The purpose of this training is to serve as a catalyst in your experience as a mentee in the Product Hive Mentorship program. So we want you to be successful. Today, you're going to hear from some tremendous insights. We've prompted you with some questions. You'll see those again in the chat window in Zoom. And we suggest you copy and paste those questions and take a note in any kind of note-taking app for you to be able to think through those as we go along. For first case of housekeeping, or in case of how it's going to go, we want you to just try and keep yourself on mute the entire time. And each speaker is going to leave, or try and see if they're able to leave a few minutes at the end of their session or the end of their presentation, then we'll take some questions then through the chat feature in Zoom. If we don't get to all the questions, there'll be an email and Slack answers following the event. Please use, again, that Zoom feature for your questions. This whole thing will be recorded and sent out afterwards, so you'll be able to review it. And if we have any kind of we'll have some follow-up information that'll come out after the event. So the first person I wanted to introduce, as you'll see here from the slide, is our Product Hive Mentorship Team Lead, Bonnie Bronson. We're grateful to have her, and I wanted to just allow her a few minutes to talk about this program.
Thanks so much, Red. I really appreciate that. And hopefully my Zoom just minimized. Am I still on? You guys get an audio?
Yeah,
okay?
We can see you and hear you.
Great. Yeah, thank you so much, Red. I'm really excited to share, with you guys here today with this. I get a little nervous on camera. It's one of my fun things, so I'm just gonna breathe for a second. So 20 years ago, 25 years ago, I was mentored for the first time. Someone encouraged me to take bold action in my life. I ended up driving across states in an old car that my brother and I had fixed up, just powered by basically Red Bull and crackers. I went and sat in so many interviews and sat in front of people and asked them to believe in me and give me a chance. And I kept doing that process of following the advice of mentors and seeking out people to encourage me and help me to see beyond myself and to take on opportunities, and that's changed the course of my life. And so it's something that is very near and dear to my heart, and I'm so grateful to all the people that have given to me, and I've really deeply just been so just blessed to be able to also go and give back to others as well. And so the big idea of mentoring to me is just beautiful and amazing, and I've had my life changed by it, and I've seen so many other lives changed by it. So that's something that I guess like the kind of idea that mentoring isn't one-time thing. This isn't necessarily a class, but it's a pattern that we follow throughout our lives of seeking out others who have been where we want to be, and asking questions, asking them to help us to see through their eyes and to gain experience from them, and then also going and turning it and doing the same for others is a pattern that will hopefully happen for all of us many, many times. I think I've mentored probably over 100 people now, and I've been mentored by dozens and dozens of people, and so this is this is just something that I'm super passionate about and so excited to share with you guys. So this session here today is, like Red said, a chance for us to start in the mentoring process. We're going to be asking some questions and giving you a chance to hear from others who have insights on how to go through this process of being mentored and how to do it more effectively and how to begin that now, so that when you start those first sessions in the next week or two, that you'll be more prepared and ready. So I'm really excited for the people that we have that are going to share with us, and I'm super grateful to be here with you as we build out this program and hopefully can reach more people in our community. So thanks, Red. That's all I wanted to share.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Bonnie. And I wanted to emphasize to everyone the fact that there has been a lot of work that has gone into this from the entire team. A huge, huge shout out to those on the mentorship team that have put in so much time. And so just today we have Bonnie, of course, and we also have Donna and Sean that have done amazing work with this, emails going out and matching and the surveys and so on. So this is something we want to set you all up for success the best we know how. So this is part of the training. I'm gonna, so let me just share with you what we have up next. I wanted to present to you one of the founding members or co-founder of the Product Hive organization, and a tremendous individual. He has been a longtime leader in the area of product and has done wonderful things with Pluralsight. But I wanted to hand over the time to Gil for a few minutes. He was going to kind of brush on or talk about the topic of the founding of Product Hive and what that means for you as a new mentee in this cohort. So I'll turn the time over to you, Gil.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Thanks for joining. I guess it's not morning anymore. It's past 12. Hi, Bonnie. Good to see you.
Great to
Thanks,
see you.
Rudd. Thanks,
You're
Rudd,
welcome,
for joining. And I see some Pluralsight friends here. Good to see you all. Thanks for the time. Really appreciate it. I just was asked to share just a few things about the program and where it came from, and maybe a couple of pieces of advice. As Rudd mentioned, I was head of product at Pluralsight and head of content. That ended yesterday. Yesterday was my last day. I resigned. Going to take a break, spend some time with my family, and figure out what's next. But I'm going to be staying in Utah and be really active in this community. I'm not leaving product. I'm not leaving, this community. I really am excited for the growth that we've seen. As Red mentioned, just a little bit of history. A few years ago, there were two product organizations that were trying to help the community, and those were combined into Product Hive. And I was one of the 6 founding members at the time that has helped, organize the events here in Utah. And I know it's grown beyond Utah. But, the events that we had were super valuable because we had a lot of great speakers and a lot of great friends coming in, and honestly, just industry giants from around the country and around the world come and speak in this, in Utah. But we felt that we needed a program that was specific to connecting some of the young up and coming talent here in Utah and pair them up with those who have been seasoned and experienced in the space. And honestly, our goal there was to really help the community grow even more talent, because we wanted Utah to be a premier place for product and design. And obviously there are disciplines outside of that as well, but our goal was to really help develop new product managers and new designers and get to see what is out here. And, some things like, hey, what do I do for this interview? Hey, how do I deal this with my boss? How do I take care of, the next steps for me? the mentors are really there to connect you with others and to, share their experience as well. There is no money exchange and continue to be. We're not making any money out of this program. It really is just a way to help each other. And honestly, like, I am super impressed with the diversity that we have on this call. I'm looking at all the women and all the minorities. This is the type of thing that we want to see here in Utah and in this tech space. And, one of my challenges for this group is to look for, other people in the industry that are needing, Michaela, Jenny Ray, I'm looking at you. We have a lot of people at Pluralsight that would, benefit from this program that I could see as well. And so just really amazed by, Bonnie and Rudd and Donna and Sean for really helping, build this program. So that's a little bit about the program and a little bit about the history. I just want to share just a few things, and I'm happy to answer any questions in my segment. And if you happen to have other questions later in the meeting, I'm going to stay on and help answer those questions as well, or reply in an email. But, everyone needs a mentor. And I think that is just true for all of us. I've been in this industry for 20 years, and I still look up to a lot of people. And I look up to, examples that are out there. And I'm not looking for someone who's more experienced than me. That seems like that's what you would do. But really, there are some really young designers that I look up to because they are just doing great, great things. My daughter is 19 years old and she's going to college and she's studying graphic design. And I look at her and I'm like, man, she's just way more advanced than I was when I was at that age. And she's already, helping a lot of people in her age. And so, there's really mentors around us. My advice is to kind of look for those. And then specifically, the team here, the mentoring team, has done a lot of great work and is really working hard to pair you up with mentors in this space. And if I remember right, when I was talking to Rudd yesterday, we have about 65 mentors that are in this program, and then about twice as that are mentees. And so at least 2 people per mentor, and that's a great ratio. And what I would really give you advice on is to just take advantage of your mentors. They're there to help. They're willing to help. Ask the hard questions. Don't be afraid. And if it doesn't work out, reach to Bonnie and the team and Rudd to say, hey, I need some help here with my mentor, and they can reconnect you with someone new or help facilitate other conversations. But you should be getting a lot of value from the mentors that you have. And if it's not a lot of value, speak up and let us help you. And so just really appreciate, if I'm missing someone, by the way, on the mentoring team, I've mentioned a few names. I apologize.
Nope, you got them all. You got them.
Okay, good. It's really been a pleasure. I'm going to pause right here. Let me know if there's any questions. Rudd, are there any questions I can answer at this moment, or should I move on?
I don't see any questions yet in the chat, so you're free to keep going.
Yeah, great. The other thing too that I wanted to share was that, when we started this a few years ago, the people that were probably mentees are mentors now. And so, just know that in a couple of years, in a few years, you're going to be helping other folks. And, don't be afraid to mentor others, because that's part of the learning journey as well, is that when you actually are having to solve a problem for someone else, you know, you're going to learn in the process. But yeah, just really excited for this program and to see it grow and to touch so many lives. Just really grateful for all of you and spending your time today. I'm really excited for this team and all the work that they're doing. And again, now that I've resigned, I've got a little few extra hours in the week. Happy to help in any way and really use me, and I'll provide my information to these guys and see if I can answer any questions over email or a quick phone call. I'm happy to do that.
Gil, thank you so much. I wanted just in the last minute or so, could you tell us what you've seen as far as, which we'll trend into with Mike's comments, but what have you seen as powerful mentees? What do they look like from your experience?
Oh yeah, man. To me, just being proactive. You know, I would love to see a mentee at least reach out to me every 2 weeks. You know, that frequency really, really helps. And it doesn't have to be super long. I know when Red and I were having a lot of calls before, sometimes they're 15, 20 minutes, and I was answering 1 or 2 questions for Red. And so, yeah, I think there's a frequency there just to kind of keep in contact, and that you can solve a problem over a long period of time. And so it's not just a small problem. Like sometimes you need a mentor there for a few weeks at a time to try and solve a problem. Yeah, that's what I would advise.
Awesome. We're gonna go ahead and we can. There's one question, but I think for sake of time, we'll go ahead and kind of hold on to that, and then we'll move on to the next topic. But Gil, thank you so very much for sharing your thoughts and being here, and we're grateful to have you as a resource.
Thanks.
You're rad. Thank you. All right, we're gonna go ahead and jump over to our next topic, which thank you, Gil, for just touching base on quickly. We have next up to talk for a few minutes is Mike Baird. And if you don't know him already, you should, because this guy is amazing. And I'm grateful I've had close associations with him. Currently, he's the Senior Director of Product Management Practices at Pluralsight. And he agreed to share for a few minutes about what it means to be an exceptional mentee. So Mike, I go ahead and turn the time over to you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Rudd. I really appreciate the opportunity I have to come in and share with you all. I'm really humbled by the invite. This is definitely a stellar group to see on the call here, and some of you I know, and some of you I've seen your names, and some of you I don't know, and so I'm really grateful for that opportunity. And so thank you for having me.
You don't have to beg me next time. It's okay.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding. Thank
you. Rudd reached out to me and asked if I'd come do this, and I got a little more context from him, and I was really excited because what came to my mind is what I wanted to kind of share with you today, and I'll share a little bit about that on what it means to become a mentee. But there's this quote by Robert G. Allen that I read probably 15 to 20 years ago. I can't remember. And it just stuck in my head about what it means to get a mentor and why it's so important. And so I wanted to share that with you. But I do want to echo, I loved hearing what Bonnie said about her being challenged right in the beginning. And I think one of the biggest benefits that I'll go with here is like when you have a mentor, there's someone there that can actually challenge you. But I'd also add, and I'll share this as well. I'm going to share a few slides, but holding your mentor accountable to their goals as well actually really benefits them So it's actually it's this two-way relationship. And there's some really great examples that I can share with that. So I really love what Bonnie said, and Gil as well. Gil has been a mentor to me personally, still is a great friend and mentor. And so I definitely recommend that you guys all just blow up his inbox, because he's jobless right now. And
lots of going fast.
Yeah, he has all the time in the world. So Gil's probably loving this. So let me share my screen, and let's see, host disabled attendee screen sharing. I think you have to enable it. And you don't have to. If it doesn't work, I can just read. It's fine. It's really simple.
Remind me where I'm looking.
I don't know. I'll just read it.
Hey, Red, it's by share screen. There should be a little up arrow. You click that, and there should be a multiple.
I think I got it now.
Okay, cool. It's not that exciting. Don't get too excited. Cool. So really quick on me. Rudd mentioned I'm a senior director of product management practices at Pluralsight. What I'll share with that is I actually have 4 product management principles. These are highly skilled product managers that support about 10 product managers each inside of Pluralsight. And it's something new. It was a new experiment in Pluralsight, this new structure where we didn't have any functional leaders. We had only directors of different business units, and so we just matrix style of principles to support all these product managers. We had about 40 of them. And just in the last year, we hired 25 new product managers. And I was involved with, probably 200 different interviews last year. So I had a ton of experience learning how to interview, what to look for. And that went from senior to intern level interviews. And I love it. I love it. I love having the conversations. I love hearing the stories, and the purpose and the goals that these individuals bring to the table, and really the skills and craft that they bring to the table. So my role has been really to help product managers learn how to do their best work. And our principles have been focused on that as well. So this kind of hits home for me, this idea of becoming a mentee and a mentor, because it has a lot to do with mastering a craft. And that's where this quote comes into play from Robert Allen. And so the quote goes like this: decide on a discipline that you want to master. And then decide to take ownership of that awareness. And I love that, right? Ownership of the awareness of that I'm going to master this specific craft or skill. Then become a mentee to a great and inspiring mentor. And like, all joking aside, Gilbert Lee is a great and inspiring mentor. Like, he is a great, go no further. He is a great example to me of what that looks like. So him and people like him that have his skill set would be great for you. You must want to become a mentee as much as you want your next breath of air. And I think that was really powerful, because I think some of us may kind of come in and be like, yeah, it'd be cool to be a part of a mentor program, and I get to like meet people and network and everything. But it just like, this is the word, this is the line that like hit me really hard, of how important it is to want to become a mentee. And when you do, you will discover a way. You'll discover a way to master that craft, right? So all the things that were said today, I really appreciated. I really love hearing some of these examples. And I'm just going to go over 3 things that I think are really critical and crucial in developing this mentee-mentor relationship. And the first one is goals. Our goals. I mentioned this a little bit before. And goals can be tricky, because I think, especially if you're new, like knowing what you should focus on, like there's everything, right? There's all these things, but figuring out like what you're going to narrow in on is really critical and really important. And I think one of the best ways to help define those goals is actually to think about, where you want to be in a certain period of time, like in the next year or two. And then the questions you can ask yourself are, what must be true to get me to that place, what must be true. And that can start to be a foundation for your goal setting. If you struggle with that still, one of my favorite things, another great piece of advice that I received, is to also ask your mentor what their goals are. Like, what are your goals? What are your top 3 goals? If I were going to Gil, I would say, Gil, now that you don't have a job, what are your top 3 goals in your life, right? And he might not have an answer right away because he just made a transition, but that can be a really powerful moment as you both share, here's my top 3 goals now. This is where they've been before. And so hearing your mentor's goals as well as developing your own and sharing those are really, really important. And I would highly, highly recommend that you build those and keep them really narrowed and focused. 2 to 3 goals is plenty to share with your mentor. One example that I've received as I've been a mentor has been just having a vision for who I want to become, like having a written vision and mission for myself of what successful me looks like. And so that's a great goal. That's a great goal, a great starting point. That's maybe, that could be more early or it could be later in your career. Another one could be to connect with a certain number of people. There's an endless amount of goals, but starting there can be a great point where your mentor can push you, as Bonnie was saying, to maybe stretch further. Maybe your goal, I think one thing that's really great about Gil is he's a pusher. He likes to push people to stretch beyond the goals that they're seeing. Like, what can we do that's further? Like, I know this is what you're saying, but what if we pushed you beyond your limit that you think you have? So that's why I love goals. I also agree with Gil's comment about proactivity. Like, especially if you're that mentee needing your next breath of air, like that's how you should think about it. Like, if your next breath of air is the next conversation you're going to have with your mentor, think about it that way, and think about how you're going to set up that time, get it on the calendar. And, maybe they're busy and they have to reschedule, but stay on them, stay with them, stay connected, and hold each other accountable, which kind of goes into this last piece. So this is my 3rd piece, which is accountability. And accountability goes 2 ways. It's me showing up and saying, hey, here's what I've created for my vision for myself, or here's how many people I've talked to, or here's what I'm designing right now. And showing up and just sharing that accountability is so massive on both sides, because you can actually ask your mentor, like, how can I hold, is there anything I can do to help you in accountability? Is there anything I can follow up with you on that you would like me to follow up on? I think there's a tactful way to say, hey, I'm here for you as much as you are for me. And personally, as I've mentored, like, that's been a really wonderful experience for me to have a mentee kind of ask me how I'm doing in my goals, right? How am I doing in, preparing a talk or preparing a lecture or some sort of curriculum or whatever it is that we're working on. So those are the 3 things. Again, it's goals, accountability, and proactivity, and keeping that mindset that you need to become a mentee just like you need your next breath of air, because that's how you're going to master the skills and the craft that you're trying to go after. So I'm gonna stop sharing there and just see if I have any time left for questions or anything.
Thank you so very much, Mike. That was fantastic. Currently, we don't have any questions right now. If you are willing, you are able with your schedule, we can call for them again at the end, but if you're able to stick around. But those are powerful points. I'm so grateful you made those. Any kind of ending comments you want to make before we move on to the next topic?
I didn't quit my job yet, but but I'm with Gil in that I totally support this community. Anything I can do to give back or to support, like the future is on this call right here, and I'm 100% committed to helping people to grow. And I would love to chat with any of you. So it helps me just as much to learn your stories and experiences, and I would welcome it.
I'm glad to know by inviting people, we actually got them to commit to mentor more people. So we're growing in our pool of mentors. We're so grateful. But I would add I wasn't going to volunteer you, but I was going to say was that while Mike still has that full-time employment, he is a phenomenal mentor as well. So we're grateful to have you as part of our organization, Mike. So thank you for your time.
Thanks, Rod.
We're going to go ahead and transition to our next topic. We have, in case of, sorry, I'm moving through logistics here. So the next person we're going to have speak to us is someone that I worked with in prior years, and Nisha proved to be a tremendous influence for good in the organization that I was a part of with her, and since then, of course, as well. And I asked her to be a part of this because she actually reached out to me and asked about needs that I might have. This is years back when we worked together as far as mentorship. And she provided the perfect amount of guidance when I needed it. And so she is one, I guess, the case of master question asker. And so I wanted to invite her to participate today to share a little bit more about building the right questions when going about a mentorship program. So Nisha, I'll turn the time over to you.
Thank you, Rod. Let me share my screen real quick here. Okay, everyone see that okay? Rod?
Yep, we see you. It's just great.
Okay, awesome. Let me oops, there we go. Okay, so as Red said, I'm Nisha Farley, and I have been fortunate enough to work with Red in the past and have a lot of respect for Red and love the Product Hive organization. So thank you for everyone that's been involved in pulling this together. I want to start today by sharing a little bit more about myself. I was an extremely shy country girl that never dreamed of a career in tech. And that was before I obtained my bachelor's degree in business and my MBA in information technology as a first-generation college grad. And my career in tech, it started in 2001. I was a technical project manager in the telecommunications industry. Now, this was back in the days of dial-up internet and the brick phone. I mean, literally the brick phone. They had bag phones, tri-mode cell phones were just starting to come out. And I helped to launch one of the first ever texting platforms in the state of Utah. DSL was the emerging technology in rural Utah as far as broadband deployment. And so I was a corporate liaison for the technological advances. And I was integral in building out the educational fiber optic networks throughout the state. And I moved into software development in about 2011. And so since that time, I've led the development of 3 fully featured SaaS applications. I started as a product manager and then was promoted to director of product, and then went on to be VP of product. And so for the majority of the last 9 years, I've spent my time in product leadership positions. And as a woman in tech for the majority of my career, I've often been the only woman in the company, or the only woman at the table, or the only woman in a leadership team. And so for me, mentoring takes on a special meaning because I survived and I rose above a tyrannical CEO. I challenged dramatic wage gaps. I crashed through the glass ceiling, and I overcame staggering odds that were stacked against me. And so for that reason, I'm passionate about mentoring, and I was really excited about this opportunity today and come and talk with you about how to get the most out of your mentorship opportunities. And so today I'm going to talk about the types of questions that you should ask your mentor. And so first I want you to imagine putting yourself out there and signing up to have a Product Hive mentor. Wait, you guys have already done that, right? So congratulations to each and every one of you. This is really exciting. And so when you start working with your mentor, you might feel excitement, you might feel admiration, you might even feel awe for your mentor. But after time passes and you have built that solid relationship, those mentoring sessions, they might not be as invigorating as they used to, and they might not be quite as energizing for your mentor either. And so it can be you know, it can be easy for those mentor conversations to become repetitive or to become stale. But I don't want you to write off the relationship too quickly, even if it seems like maybe that it's run its course for you, because oftentimes it's not the relationship that's stale, it's just that you need some fresh materials to discuss. And so in order to keep the material fresh, I want you to take some time and be thoughtful and prepare a list of diverse questions ahead of time. And so today we're going to go through 4 types of questions that you could ask a mentor to keep the conversation flowing. So to break the ice, have your mentor tell you a story from his or her own career. Everybody loves to talk about themselves, and it's a great way to get the conversation flowing. Ask, how did you get to where you are today? Ask them, how do they land their current role? But as you go along, you can ask more specific questions that address your career objectives and concerns. And so here's some of the questions to consider. Tell me, was there a time you messed up and felt like you failed? How did you bounce back? Talk about resiliency. That's really important in a career. Was there ever a role that you applied for and landed, but you weren't 100% qualified to do? How did you proceed? I think we all will have those situations where we land in a role that we're going, oh, what did I get myself into? Here we go, jump in with both feet kind of thing. You know, what can we learn from our mentor about that? Maybe can you tell me about a time when you had a difficult boss? How did you handle that situation? So these are the types of questions that you can think about in advance and pull together a list of questions. Asking your mentor to share stories can help you to find inspiration in situations that they've already lived through and overcome. And sometimes it's hard for you to find the courage that you're looking for. And so listening to what someone else has overcome can help you find the courage that you need, that maybe has been hard to come by. So after you get more general feedback from your mentor, don't hesitate to ask your mentor to tell you more specific stories and stories that are relatable to your career journey. So now that you have the conversation flowing, you can get more granular in your requests. One of the best ways to get a lot of value out of a mentor is to present something specific for them to help you solve. It might be, how do you get your startup through a successful launch? It might be releasing a feature, building out a design team, or maybe even managing an underperformer if you're a leader. And this doesn't mean that you're asking them to solve it for you or asking them to give you the answer. Rather, you'd love to get to know them and hear their experience on your path to find a solution or reach a specific milestone. So a couple of questions here you might ask. My boss said I need to be more strategic. What does that mean? How can I stay connected to key influencers who do not work in the same office or geographical area? That one right now probably has a lot bigger meaning to people than it used to in a COVID world. When trying to gain buy-in to implement a new program, what tactics have worked for you? So get into real life situations. But there's one caveat that I want to call out here, and that's that I want you to make sure that you're being deliberate in expressing the outcomes that you want to achieve. And when you start with that specific outcome, the action to take, it becomes clearer. And I'll give you an example of what I mean by that. If you're having a conflict with a team member, the best solution will be different if you're trying to repair the relationship versus if you think it's hopeless and you just want to get away from that person. And your mentor will have different advice based on the outcome that you would like to achieve. So self-awareness, Mike mentioned awareness. One of the greatest gifts that you can give yourself is the gift of self-awareness. And that means having the ability to see yourself as others view you. And that way, if you like the way that others perceive you, then you can embrace it and you can take steps to strengthen that positive perception. If you don't like how you're currently perceived, then you can take steps to shift that perception to a more positive one that supports rather than undermines your career and leadership goals. So a couple questions here. Now, a lot of these self-awareness questions, the way they're worded here, it is based off of somebody that is in the same organization as you. But you can tweak these to work with a mentor that doesn't work in the same organization. A good example of that is, do I come across as strategic or tactical in my day-to-day communication? Well, a mentor may not see that if he's not working with you every day, but you could change that question to say, do I come across as strategic or tactical in our conversations? So just tweak these a little bit to be something that works well for you. So after you start with the obvious questions like, how do you see others perceiving me? Get more specific so that your mentor can really hold up that mirror and can provide you detailed feedback on how your actions and communications, on how your actions and communications impact the way others are seeing you and their perception of you. And don't hesitate, like get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Self-awareness is a powerful tool that you can leverage. The next is skill building. So if there's a current skill that you're currently working to enhance, such as product management, user interviews, long-term strategic planning, even something like delegating or public speaking, use these questions and ask your mentor for advice and resources that can help you to polish those skills. A couple questions here. What practices can you recommend for dealing with nervousness while speaking to groups? Somebody can help mentor me on that. Another one, do you have any quick tips for re-energizing an overworked team? That's something that, sharing tips between leaders can be really helpful. I love this one. How can I become a more assertive negotiator? I can always use tips in that realm. But be humble and be open to learning and accepting advice about different ways to approach your development. A mentor may recommend a skill building approach that sounds out of the box for you, and you may be nervous about giving it a try. So be willing to step out of your comfort zone and try something new. So with these 4 types of questions and the examples that I've shared, you're never going to sit through a mentoring conversation wondering how to keep the discussion engaging, as long as you take the time in advance to do your preparation work. So the more time that you take to prepare for your mentoring sessions, the more you're going to get out of them and the more mutually beneficial they will be for you and your mentor. It might be helpful for you to share your list of questions once you have it prepared. Share that in advance with your mentor and encourage them to use it to maximize the value of the time that you spent together. I'm also going to put a plug in, just like Gil did, to encourage you to consider becoming a mentor yourself. Because no matter where you are in your career path, there is someone out there that knows less than what you do. If you're brand new in your career, you just graduated college, there's someone in high school that wants to get into the career that you're in. There's someone out there that desires to take a trail that you've already blazed. And it's never too early in your career to help someone learn from your experiences and what you've learned. I deliberately chose a resource that you could each find and use for your upcoming mentoring sessions and as you're preparing. So this article I found on Forbes.com. It's called 40 Questions to Ask a Mentor. So you can find that there, and good luck as you start to prepare for your mentoring sessions. Red, I'll turn it back to you.
Nisha, thank you so very much for your time. We really appreciate it. And that those are perfect segues into how each mentor or mentee jumps into their first session with their mentors. So I think I'm confident to say that Nisha and also Mike, you'd be willing to share your PowerPoints so that we could give those to our attendees as well, and they can skim over those questions. Okay.
Yep, absolutely.
Perfect. Well, what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna just round out what I was wanting to present, and then I'll leave a few minutes at the end and we can jump into questions. We are grateful to have, of course, Nisha and Gil and Mike around. So the questions, again, just put them in the Zoom chat. If we don't get to them now, we'll get to them soon thereafter. But let me go ahead and just round out this time, our session today with the last points. I wanted to just confirm to you, what does success look like? As Nisha pointed out, we have to make sure that we know that before going into, or at least starting to tackle this question before we go into a mentorship relationship or case of this powerful way for us to grow and understand more from a mentor. So the first point is really the fact that you can't measure and accomplish, sorry, you have to measure and accomplish your goals, and you can't succeed if you don't have a goal. If there's no thing to achieve, then you won't be able to. I think that's probably clear to see. So when you're thinking of those things, again, we have the questions to prompt you in the Zoom chat, but we'll send those out afterward as well. But be thinking of your goals as you go into this first session. How do I measure those things? That's critical. Make your strengths your strategy. As was pointed out previously, what am I good at? What do I want to be better at? That's self-awareness, and allowing that to guide your next steps. Another point about success is, as Nisha mentioned and Gil, become a mentor yourself, no matter your experience. Reach out to someone else and be able to offer your insight. And you'll always find an opportunity to do that. So consider that as you go forward. And then another point I might make too is when you become a mentor, you'll begin to really appreciate what mentees do and don't do. And you'll be able to mirror that in your relationships with the mentor. And the last point is just maintain these things, these relationships with mentors. That's what success looks like for our mentorship program, is that these go on long after the cohort ends. And as we've heard from all three of our presenters, myself, Bonnie, and our team, we benefit from mentors we made years and years ago, still do. So that's the end of the comments that I have prepared. We have about 5 or so minutes left that we can leave for questions. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I wanted to just remind you again, send them in Zoom chat, your questions, and we'll get to those as we can. And I'll stop there and we'll take some questions, and then I'll round out with the fact that, well, I'll do it now just to make sure we get it in. So we're going to send out a questionnaire via Slack and email following this presentation to allow us to get feedback and verify different things like who attended and what they benefited from. So look out for that questionnaire in the next coming days, that you'll be able to, again, help us help you better as mentees. So let's go ahead and look at what we have now. They might be coming in, but there's a first question here, Nisha, that talked a little bit about tactics that you've used when your questions seem to continually fall flat based on responses from your mentor. Would you take a minute, if that rings true to you, to respond to that question? Questions seem to fall flat, and based on the response from your mentor, what would you do differently?
Yeah, so I think one thing starting out is mentorship is about relationships, and it's about becoming comfortable with your mentor. It's about understanding each other. And so if there's a kind of a subservient feel to a mentorship, it doesn't bode well for being able to have honest, open conversations. But if you show interest in your mentor and they've taken an interest in you, to understand you personally, what drives you, what are your goals, what are you excited about, what do you struggle with. And so I guess, not knowing the situation, it's a little bit hard to, and whoever answered the question, I'm happy to, if you want to reach out to me, I can give you a more specific answer. But for me, number one, build the relationship and make sure that you're taking the time to have that solid foundation. And number two, I would say, take the time to prepare your questions in advance and be thoughtful in them, and don't always put it out there as a, hey, tell me how to handle this type of question. Put it out there as a question in, I've taken and analyzed this situation, and here is the way I feel would be best to move forward. But I'd love your insight, because you tend to have a unique perspective that I don't always possess. And that way it shows that you've put some time and energy into solving it, and you're not just looking for your mentor to solve for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nisha. I wanted to, Mike, I know you've been and always have been great at this, Gil and Nisha as well, but Mike, I wanted to reference you in this question. How is it that you might measure, or goals you might use as measurable goals for a mentorship relationship? What are some examples you might use for that? And Nisha and Gil, if you'd like to chime in, you're welcome.
Great question. First of all, I think there was a question before as well as what's a good framework to use to help define your goals? Actually what I love about the product Hive space and mentoring here is that I feel like I can treat myself as a product almost and separate myself and just look at myself as the product and decide what outcome do we want to create and what must be true for me to be able to get there. And that's where I start. And so once I've determined like what must be true for me to, get to a different part of my career or speak at a conference or deliver a specific product or whatever, I can actually determine like what must be true. And that's where I feel like mentors can play a huge role. And you can actually map those out. I also strongly recommend that when you first meet with your mentor, you start a Google Doc that you can, or some sort of format that you can synchronize and share, where you put in your goals and you can come back to them every time and follow up. And having that regular cadence in a written down way is a really, really strong way to do that. I think one other thing I'll say, and this is for products as well, is that, and KPIs, there's a great article out there somewhere, like discovering what those KPIs are, discovering what to measure is almost as important as discovering, the goal itself and how you want to measure it. Right. And so I think there's actually a discovery process that goes along with it. There may not be a solid answer right when you land of like, we're going to measure, how many people you talk to or whatever. You may have to learn that what we're going to go discover here is, I want to measure how I interview customers and what it takes to discover what our customers really value, like those kind of things. And that may be something you need to work on. But writing it down, sharing it, that's where I would start.
Awesome.
I'd probably just add to here, at Pluralsight, we created a product manager and product designer career framework. And I think we're happy to share that. I don't work there anymore. Mike, it's up to you.
You can speak.
Yeah. And Rudd, you had that experience as well. I think that one helps you we kind of put it on the map to help people use it as just a starting point, and then how to turn those into goals could be translated, pretty easily. I think we could share that with the community. It's not proprietary to like Pluralsight stuff, but I think that's something that we could share in an email as a follow-up.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. I know just in chat, you'll see that that's something that a lot of people would find valuable. So we'll be sure to follow up with that. The last question before we run out of time, I wanted to actually, Gil, if you could chime in on this. You might be getting a lot of these right now, but what would you recommend as far as a first email to your mentor? What's kind of the structure, the format, if any kind of recommendation there?
Yeah, I think for me, and this is true for like starting a job, but just get to know your mentor. The first 2 meetings that you have, it's just for them to get to know you and for them to for you to get to know them. And so I wouldn't try to, make it so formal right away. It's just like, hey, tell me about your family, tell me about your life, what are your experiences? Because I think a lot of the times when I mentor folks, man, it goes all the way back into life experiences that they've had and to becoming who they are today. And so you would want to be able to understand that from your mentor and vice versa. Just as an example, when people find out that I'm an immigrant to this country, if you're an immigrant as well, like that's a big, experience that you have in common. And that allows you to, go back to the basics and really understand, like, how do I have all these insecurities about being an immigrant and all these things that goes into their experience today. So yeah, that's really for me. It's just like, hey, just make it informal, just get to know folks. It's really about friendships. Like if I can call this the friendship program, I would. But it really is just developing friendships and really getting to know folks.
Unmute here. All right, those are tremendous points. Thank you so much, Gil. We're gonna go ahead and wrap this session right now. And again, we'll have more that'll be sent out following this session, including the recording. So please, mentees, this is all meant for you to be successful. So we hope you'll take into account and put into action the tremendous thoughts shared by Mike, Nisha, and Gil, and Bonnie to help make this a program that will continue to grow in momentum and effort. And so thank you all again so much for your time today. And we hope you have a fantastic first interaction with your mentors and a very wonderful and beneficial mentorship experience. So take care, everyone. We'll see you next time.
I sent all those documents to Rudd, so bug him. He can bug me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have a good one, guys. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.